Good morning, everyone. You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy, and we are live, turtleislandnews.info. A lot of the news that I'll be talking about, you will be able to find turtleislandnews.info, so feel free to come by. We're also being cast today on Revolution Radio, Studio A. Good morning, everybody. And the Awake Radio Group and all of their stations. Good morning, my brothers and sisters from all over the world. And Wolf Spirit Radio. And whoever else may be simulcasting me today. Very grateful that you guys decided to drop by. We've had some questions, so I'm going to slow the show down a little bit today. Don't know how far we'll get into it, but I would like to thank everyone for the questions, and know that if you go to my page on the left-hand side, just under, it's called Search This Blog, is a contact form. So you just put your name and your email in, and you can give me a message, and you can ask anything you want. There seems to be some things that are on everyone's mind right now, which I will do my best to go into. One, I was quite surprised that I got this question, but I'm grateful. So, how do you get rid of bad spirits? Because many people see spirits as some sort of gaseous anomaly, right? Only existing on some etherical level. And it is this outlook that actually keeps them from realizing the source of what is allowing such entities to harmonize with your space, with your spirit, and affect you. When we look at such forces on a mental, physical, spiritual level, it is much easier to pinpoint them, to rid ourselves of their presence by disabling them from having access to our personal space. Much of this we've covered, but perhaps in a different way. We can even call it astral hygiene. The best way to rid yourself of an evil spirit is not by ignoring it, and also not separating yourselves from it, because we all have that tendency. As nasty and as evil as a person can be, somebody probably loves that person. They probably love someone or something. Evil's not cut and dry here. I have a tendency to like addressing such things on a physical level first, as it allows you to see more vividly what may be causing the issue. It's easier later to pinpoint their signatures on a more subtle level, such as mental or spiritual, after you've already touched it, right? Physically, lower vibrations harmonize with clutter, disorganization, uncleanliness, even, such as dirty clothes, dirty dishes, messy house, animal feces present in the environment, things that have not been looked after properly. And yeah, it goes to that too. You'll find that you are so much lighter when you unclutter the physical things around you. I know it doesn't sound deep, but it's a start, right? So keep a clean, orderly environment. It's important to be cautious of others' hygiene as well, that share the environment with you, and encourage them to do the same. Music and objects are also important. It's a good idea to rid the space of negative imagery, like, I don't know, demons, zombies, morbid forms. Such things have a tendency to be collected, mainly by children, of course, with the encouragement of this modern corrupt society. Also keep an eye out for old stuff that may contain such vibrations as, old horror movies you feel reluctant to part with, or characters and figures from negative projections. Realize all of these things, if it's affecting you negatively, is to you a negative thing. If you look at them and you still are light of heart, then it is not negative for you. Remember, if there are 7 billion of us, there are 7 different right and wrongs, and then we have all the gray area in between. But these types of things work like receivers for negative energies that function like eidolons, idols, this word I've used, and thought forms in your environment. Most of them are contained on magnetics, believe it or not, an old tape, a CD, a hard drive. Sounds are crystallized on magnetic tape and then are lived via vibration. Certain negative rap music, certain death metal, certain sounds and tones, and just listen to the words and the intent. It is not the pulsing beat. But know, even on a physical vibrational level, a pulsing beat that makes you tap is affecting your physical body. An easy way to help yourself with that is tap with your heel. Seriously, tap with your heel instead of the front of your foot. I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of musicians become unstable. They're tapping a lot with their toes, right? Tap with your heel. This will send, even if you're sitting down, even if you can't stand, tap with your heel. It will send a vibration throughout your body. It'll strengthen you. Being aware of what you're doing, what you're listening to, what you should be at all times. And if you find yourself slipping away from that awareness, that awakeness, if you will, don't blame yourself, don't judge yourself, just pull yourself back. Be aware for sigils, too, like inverted pentagrams, geometry that is intentionally configured to evoke negative emotions. They are. We keep finding them. We keep hearing the same words repeated. There's a reason for this. Well, many people just starting to look at this do not actually practice such arts. They may have books related to such things that they acquired on the quest for knowledge. It's good to store all such material in a specific location and physically keep it contained. Put it in a container. Having occult books strewn around the house with pages open to any kind of ritualistic material has never been the greatest idea. If you're attempting to rid yourself of something unwanted, and know this unwanted thing is you. It is. Things don't come to you if you are not drawing them. They've heard something in you. Easiest way is you see it, you look at it, and don't do it. Don't do that thing it wants you to do. Let it go. Get up physically and do something else. Have a glass of water. That always helps. Be on a constant lookout for open sewage, old trash, bacteria accumulation in areas. In short, if your house is on top of a graveyard, it's probably time to move. We've all seen that movie. It's a good idea. Don't be the people in the horror movie that say, gee, do you think that's a problem? No. It's a problem. It's a problem. And leaving is like the easiest way to change that. Watch the company you keep. Make sure those in your environment are respecting you vibrationally. They're constantly picking at you, constantly putting you down, and a lot of people will stay forever in that environment thinking that somehow they deserve it, because realize if you're staying, you're a little bit digging it. Don't blame yourself. Don't beat yourself up. But know you are. What is around you is around you because you've brought it to you. As a child, we can't make these decisions. As an adult, we absolutely can. So mental, spiritual. This can just be summed up with what I just said about the physical. If you have the ability, make sure you're not coming under a mental assault. This means someone who is belittling you, dragging you down, constantly negative. Of course, there's many ways to combat these negative frequencies. Think of sound, shape, color as being your greatest allies. Using a diffuser to spread citrusy smells through an area for situations such as negative forms have major issues manifesting in that kind of reality. Citrus, simple. Make yourself a citrus spray. Use the oils from lemons, limes, all the wonderful citrus fruits. Make a little potpourri thing. Put it on your counter. Put it boiling. Well, not really boiling, but on a soft simmer. Easy peasy. And really helps. It creates an atmosphere, sound, shape. Anything that makes you feel good is right for you. If you love black, gray, brown, fine. If you don't and are allowing that to dominate your space, remove it. Use things that cheer you personally, and not because you're all emo and you like black and you think, we want to embrace our dark forces, which we absolutely need to embrace. Don't get that twisted either. We need to see it. We can't get rid of any part of ourselves. Know that even in the most negative part, what you have decided is negative of you is a strength, and you have it for a reason. Take the time to find out what that reason is. Make it your friend. Food again, major factor. And while this isn't the time or the space to go into great detail, it's always a great idea to avoid acidic foods, slow down light, plasma, blood, fried foods, certain kinds of meats, GMO, anything. This can take your body into a lower acidic frequency, which causes lower acidic frequency beings to come to you. It's that easy. So you're prone to having a domino effect here of mental stability and mood, or instability and moodiness because of these things. So always keep in mind, you have the greatest level of control by being in full command of your thoughts. Often, we introduce thought forms into our own reality. Movies, gossip, superstition, things of that nature. Listening to things you know you don't like and thinking you're going to get another outcome from it. If there's someone that you've been listening to that bothers you, stop listening. And even if you feel you have none of that going on, but you are still experiencing negative energies and issues and stagnant and festerings, things that create decay and death. So be sure to spruce up things from time to time. invite life into your space. Not dead, cut flowers, but actual life. Or, there's this really cool thing I saw in a magazine cover, and it's called Outside. And then there's this awesome, lit, warm thing in the sky. I think that's called the sun. Go check that shit out. If you're in a place you don't like, don't be there. So I hope that helps. And yes, there are all kinds of things going on right now. We got a chance to speak to Gerald Whitehorse Standing, and I recommend, if you have any time on Sundays, to come and check us out. Patty Walking Turtle usually hosts what she calls the Brain Gym. A bunch of people of like minds. Not always exactly alike, but talkers who don't spend 2-3 hours attacking each other, which is awesome, you must admit. And we talk of ideas and things that we've seen and perhaps what's bothering us about the world right now. So everyone is more than welcome and invited. After that, we have Jared Whitehorse Standing, which is also the fastest 2 hours on radio because he has so much knowledge. So, a lot of fun. Next, and it's kind of the same question. So, I feel what you're feeling, everybody, and it's okay. Now, the difference between Lucifer and Satan, which is deep, and without going into numerous details here, I will be as simple and precise as possible. Lucifer is a reference to Venus. Satan is a reference to Saturn. So this is 5 and 6. The 5 and the 6. The male and the female. The water and the fire. The light and the darkness. Friday and Saturday, which we've even gone into in detail. I encourage everyone to not see these planetary energies as human, but rather energies that course throughout everyone and everything. They are hardly the only energies present in the cosmos. Each energy, just like humans, have a positive and negative pole, north and south, as in the wisdom of Saturn versus the deadly force of Saturn, or the love of Venus versus the lust and the vengeance of Venus. Some magnify these energies over others. And that has a great deal to do with the planetary energies they incarnate under, which you were born under, the sign, the time, all those things. This also gives us a myriad of unique variations that we experience from each individual. People in history have come up with elaborate stories for each of the forces and have given them personalities, while giving themselves over to worshiping and embodying these energies in order to inherit their traits. And to each its own. Whoever, do what you want. I'm not the boss of you. But it's simply not how it's truly meant to be represented. This often leads to profane externalization of mysteries, which are best kept internal and contained within the crucible of the creation, which is the incarnated body and the mind. Venus and Saturn have become centralized characters in modern occult world because The world centers itself around dualities of this age. But planetary energies such as Vulcan exercised this same type of government during the time people magnified rather than Saturn or Venus. Example, Kennedy and Voltaire both were inspired by volcanic currents, or Vulcan. It is why, and by the way, I must thank you again, Jade is learning so much for us. This is why on Facebook we are now seeing pictures of the lion, the king, so he's king, so he's a queen, so he's a cross-dressing pedophile, on one hand. On the other hand, we have the Baphomet, or the red demon. This is still just Venus. She's a cow. She's a mother with breasts. That's why the Baphomet has breasts. That's why he's red and has horns. All cows used to have horns, domesticating that made them small and stupid. But not everywhere. You know, my son described what's going on right now, and I think it was perfectly. You know, I was almost going to say out of the mouth of babes, but when somebody has to double over to friggin' hug me, I probably shouldn't call him my baby anymore, but he is my baby, sweetheart. Anyway. And it did make me laugh. So, he said he's going to start dressing like a lion. That way cops know if they kill me, white people will avenge me. This is where we are right now. And this image that my son presented to me, and I completely support him wearing lion stuff, that's absolutely fine. But this is coming up right now because Jade, J-A-D-E, has learned from us. And they are learning quick. What triggers us? What doesn't? What doesn't seem to trigger us is the death of our people. And Texas is getting it, you know. And I got to say hey to my brothers and sisters, because if you go on my page, you'll see a video. I think it's right at the top, that clearly demonstrate that the people know what time it is in Waller County, Texas. As if the final chapter, Sandra Bland, Skull and Bones, MKULTRA, the final chapter of all of this is coming. They've even said there's a killer asteroid coming, again between September 15th and the 28th. These things are not by accident. The death and the horrific climate disruptions we are finding right now, which I also won't go into, but you can look them up. Everyone's going to be telling you about this. No, there's something else entirely going on. Yes, there's energies hitting us. Yes, they've been hitting us for a while. No, it will not be by the end of this year. Yes, it's happened for a while. They're saying it's 2015. This is happening. Well, this is the year of light. We've been told this. The year of light starts in September, around the second week. This did not start this year. So people telling you that, calling it the X-wave, it is still the ribbon that has been hitting us for quite some time. And the army of the 72, which are actual meteors, which I've told you about, are on the way. Will they divert? Are they intelligent? Are they being steered? They probably are now. although they a couple times stopped, changed direction, and moved, interestingly enough. Now, another picture, of course, because within days of my first question about Sandy Bland and why she took a booking photo in an orange jail suit, responding to the widespread claims on the internet, social media, controlled by Jade, corporate mass media, also controlled by Jade now, that she may have been dead when booking her photo. They are getting ready to pick up the dog and pony show and go home. There's much more to the Sandy Bland affair than mugshots. In fact, the fact is, when journalists, concerned citizens, and the public demand to see Bland's side booking photo, in their own ignorance, they produced a side photo that was so dark and blurry that the person in the photo could not have been, well, it certainly couldn't have been identified as her, and yeah, I'm not buying it. In fact, in the same lighting conditions, camera and the photos taken just moments apart, the subject in the side shot photo jail uniform is a different hue or color than Sandy's front mugshot, and the subject's shoulders appear too narrow for a tall, broad-shouldered woman like Sandy. In fact, the entire Bland corpse mugshot controversy was designed as a psychological warfare, false flag tactic, red herring, one of the primary components of this psychological warfare, and a covert plan, demoralization. And it's obviously photoshopped very well, both of them, but Jade did this. They know what we like to see. They know what we look at and like on every social media. That's every tweet, every email, every cell phone conversation, every conversation on the telephone, every typed conversation on the internet. I've talked to you, and go back to my shows when I talked about Deus Ex Machina that had exact references to all the technology that they're using when I went to targeted mind control and what they're doing with all of the internet communications right now, and how they can tap into your computer. They don't even have to turn on the red light. Take your picture, see your face, and know what will or will not harm you physically and emotionally now. This is a creation of false alarms, and we are being tested. We are being tried, and for the most part, we're being found wanting. Now, Waller County officials may have intentionally neglected to produce a clear booking photo of Sandy or take any action to clear up the discrepancies between the front photo and the side photo to further inflame public mistrust and confusion by design. I don't think they're doing it. If you look at the scene of the alleged suicide, it is a dormitory type cell. Has the capacity to house at least 5 women, and we know that all American jails are overcrowded and packed with sardines because they're making money. So why was Sandy Bland kept isolated in that cell for at least 3 days? Even when they say she told them she was suicidal, suffered from epilepsy, didn't have her alleged medication. Now, shortly before 9 a.m., July 13th, another redneck justice of the peace, Charles Karish, told ABC 13, interesting news, that he got a call. He was needed at the jail to conduct a death inquisition. I love these words, don't you? Now, Karish said, I looked at the body, asked if EMFs or EMSs had been there, and if it was a flatline. I pronounced her dead. I did not see a dark mark around her neck, he said. I think I saw a plastic bag hanging on something. So you tell me, why weren't you just plain ordinary crime scene technicians brought into the jail cell, like the ones you see every day on television, mass convincing people of color of crimes to document the dark mark somewhere around Sandy's neck, and a plastic bag that this Judge Karish thought he saw hanging on something somewhere. This is a judge. It makes zero sense to me. Now, from these extremely outrageous circumstances and the severe departure from just ordinary and standard duty of care and crime scene homicide investigation documentation, it was like Sandy had been no more than a dead animal. That the people were justified to suspect Waller County officials of the criminal foul play in her death. Waller County's piecemeal approach, of course, to government transparency is only designed to once again demoralize all of us, the masses, suppress legitimate goals and aspirations. It is a game, psychological warfare. Pressure should continue on the Waller County officials to answer to the people. Now, it's truly sad, haunting, and an outrageous tragedy to watch despondent Sandy sadly lurk across the jail, still lost in dark, disbelieving shock about what really happened, to be brutally assaulted, battered, and placed behind bars like a patsy, like a Lehigh B. Oswald, like a Sirhan. Nevertheless, I believe the majority of people familiar with this case are convinced and outraged that Sandra Bland had no business being in jail in the first instance, and want a full and complete answer as to why, as I realize people are, for the most part, running around and liking lion pictures, or fighting like Canadian women now to be topless, because being topless is our freedom. No, not in this environment. An environment where we were all saying, yes, sometimes wearing clothes is far more provocative than not. We've seen natives in the jungles almost naked all over the world. Us taking off our clothes when boobs are used to sell just about everything, guns to seeds, taking your top off is not freedom. Complaining about dead lions in Jericho, bitches. I know what you're doing, and I've got articles up on that if you're into that false flag. Meant to trigger you meant to make you think of the Jericho falling and the walls of Jericho, and perhaps the Trump card. That's why they pulled Trump out, because Trump owes what? The towers. The tower card means death and destruction. Yes, I get the significance. You see what you're doing. And as far as the recent Walter County booking room video is concerned, I will remain cautious to see what happens when experts and public get a fair chance to study. In the meantime, there continues to be something awfully wrong with this whole Sandra Bland Waller County incident, as the facts and circumstances of her arrest and death spiral out of control. And as for Sandy was widely lauded as a member of the DuPage AME Church, Lisle, Illinois. Same denomination as the Masonic MKULTRA Mother Emmanuel AME, Charleston. Invoked in that false flag strategy of tension, racial mass murder operation that shocks the consciousness of the nation and the world. The operation allegedly took the lives of a pastor, 8 high-ranking parishioners in a black church, June 17th, 2015. Sandy's pastor and mentor, Reverend Dr. James F. Miller, rides the Ram for the Illuminati, just as late Reverend Clementa Pinckney rode the Ram to become an Illuminati sacrifice. Some may be confused as to what the Ram they ride looks like. But no, Reverend Miller is a member of the Divine Nine, the Boule, the Kappa Alpha Phi fraternity. While Reverend Pinckney was a member of the Divine Nine as well, Boule, Alpha Phi Alpha, and there's something very leery about that. I have a picture up of Reverend Laverne Witherspoon and the Great Beast 666. Crowley has been coming up a lot in almost every discussion we've had of the last 2 years. Now, he was a former pastor at Mother Emmanuel AME Church before his fraternity brother, Reverend Pinckney, took over the church. Reverend Witherspoon rides the goat. 33, Master Mason. 33rd. Chaplain for the Prince Hall Masonic Lodge. He also rides the Ram for the Divine Nine, Boule, that, I keep telling you about. Now, make no mistake as to what the goat that Reverend Witherspoon rides is like. He is a 1995 graduate of the U.S. Army Chaplain School and Center, Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and as of April 1978, the U.S. Army circulated a handbook for chaplains to facilitate the provision of religious activities. Both the Church of Satan and the Temple of Set were listed amongst other religions, of course, to be tolerated inside the U.S. military. A section of the handbook dealing with Satanism stated, often confused with witchcraft, Satanism is the worship of Satan, also known as Baphomet, Lucifer. A little bit. See, they even screwed up. But, we won't pick at their little misnomers. But anyway, classical Satanism, often invoking black masses, human sacrifices, other sacrilege, or illegal acts is now rare. Modern Satanism is based both on the knowledge of ritual magic and the anti-establishment mood of the 60s. It is related to the classical Satanism in more of image than substance, and generally focuses on the rational self-interest with ritualistic trappings. Reverend Witherspoon facilitates the satanic worship of the Baphomet for Masons and the U.S. Army. Know that this thing I just read has not been revoked. The most chilling and the real scary stuff about Witherspoon is not only that he is a chaplain for Masons and the U.S. Army, but he is a U.S. Army chaplain at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, home to the Army's Communications and Electronics Command. Jade, linked to Boaz Allen Hamilton, BA, and artificial telepathy or psychotronics and mind control via wireless, which I've told you about. BAH employs over 1,000 intelligence officers involved in ultra-high, secret level Twilight Zone research, that's what they call it, and development in psychological and space-age warfare and mass population mind control projects for existence. BAS C41SR. This term is a perfect designator for artificial telepathy. It is a powerful fusion of signal processing technologies that allows technicians to remotely gather and collect intelligence, human intelligence. It's called HUMINT. From braid to signals, called SIGNINT, of other human beings. As with S4ISR, artificial telepathy automates signals collection, so eavesdropping, and intelligence analysis figure out what people intend to do by utilizing satellites and computers. An overall goal is a military command and control. Always has been. One might define artificial telepathy as a subset of the C4ISR with special focus on neurology, psychology, mind control. Artificial telepathy is an exotic form of this that allows warriors to communicate non-verbally with soldiers in the field. This is real, already done, already being used, and enables spies and intelligence agents to perform reconnaissance and surveillance non-locally by means of remote viewing. This remote viewing is done through technology and allows for military operations and officers to command and control the behavior of human minds at a distance with the artificial aid of a carefully networked satellite and computer technology. It's also called Project Stargate. Boaz Allen Hamilton certainly has close ties to all of the contractors who worked on the Pentagon's Stargate program for psychic spying in the 90s, and it took a lead role in the development of the NSA's Total Information Awareness projects that I've mentioned in earlier posts and, for a long time, pretty much constantly for the last 6 years. Anyway, BA may certainly be on the short list of firms capable of designing and launching a system space-based, mind-invasive weaponry. It has all the people, pull and no needed to pull, and electronic concentration camp system in place. Camp FEMA, it's not needed. You're in it. This is Jade. Now at this level of intelligence, it requires a twisted, wicked, depraved mind, ultra-high levels of secrecy, and U.S. military Pentagon intelligence clearances to operate in and along with, say, Lucifer's most elite, covert, wicked servants. What is likelihood of AME churches and the divine mind, the Masonic Negroes, being at the basis of two of America's most racially polarized incidents within days of each other, in the South, to explode on the global stage? Very unlikely, or none at all, unless you followed with me for a while. I said, every king, every court has a voodoo priestess. I know, sounds like a whole bunch of crap. It does. Priestess or priest, always there, not a slave, never a slave, never treated like the other black people and the other white people and the other whatever people. They work hand in hand, and they use them for certain things, music, tones, and rituals that are too dark to be the little satanic, let's all get naked and do the bumpy grindy. This is real. It's chilling. Because these wicked servants have entered, corrupted the sanctity of the black church to their agents, the black masons, boule, to find nine. People go to church to escape the horror of living. Know who that's in charge now. And behind that, and they probably think it's Satan or Lucifer or something of the world, it is a computer. And it's all about to bring the final chapter to the race relations. Besides the clandestine brotherhood of death, and the goddesses and ladies of the goddess, the Sybil, Sigma Gamma Rho, which itself is scary, as I have mentioned before, but when the blood coven combinations enter into the background of Sandra Bland, red flag, sirens should have gone off amongst the masses long ago. Again, and I've told you this, she was lauded as a Black Lives Matters activist. However, she appears to have been solo. Social media hashtag, primarily using her Facebook page as Sandy Speaks platform, where most of these things show up after a person dies. But, they can backdate stuff. I'm just speculating on this one. But she is not known to be formally associated with an organized group, other than her secret Skull and Bones sisterhood. From the loose organizational nature, structure, network of Black Lives Matters movement, has no certain program, constitution, formal or any semi-formal membership, easily penetrated, infiltrated, compromised, co-opted by all the secret black agent groups, provocateurs, black Manchurian candidates. So when Sandy Speaks launched February 14, 2015, as a gateway to children. She didn't, at the time, mention Black Lives Matters at all. However, she didn't fail to mention her admiration for her down-to-business sorority sisters and the children interacting with the police. Watch and listen to her first Sunday speaks, then answer the question whether or not she was in any way, shape or form or fashion a Black Lives Matter activist. She was not. Bottom line here is she had been pushed out on a limb on a mission by her clandestine sisterhood to represent a part of Black Lives Matter movement on a global level. She was a skull and bone sister on a mission. However, with prospects of a new job and a future and a chance to improve her mental health, she may have wanted out of this mission. But she was down the rabbit hole and far too deep to get out of the game. Because in these kind of games, you don't break even. And you can't get out of this game. You can't. When you have someone come up and give you vast amounts of knowledge of them leaving the Illuminati, it's not possible. You don't leave and live. Period. They let you speak. You're doing a job, whether you know it or not. According to documents obtained by the Intercept via Freedom of Information Act, the Department of Homeland Security has been monitoring Black Lives Matter movement, collecting data relating to protests, vigils, other events, information from, social media. Now, according to Interceptor, the DHS has been monitoring the movement since protests in Ferguson last August, following the dates of the death of Michael Brown. DHS, which is supposed to investigate terrorism, also monitored to the national movement of silence vigils that took place around the country August 14th. These were peaceful vigils meant to honor those who had died at the hands of police. Up here, AMSI, the Center of Constitutional Rights, say that DHS calls providing situational awareness of America's Black Lives Matters and peace movement. So, by the way, it has nothing to do with black. They're watching all you folks. It is really just surveillance. What they call situational awareness is Orwellian speak for watching and intimidation. Over time, there's a serious harm to the associational rights of protesters, and it's an effective way to chill protest movements. The average person would be less likely to go if the government is monitoring social media and Facebook and their movements. Already happened, big time, already done. They got you. You don't have a place to hide. You don't. Waller County's Operation Sandy may not have been a joint federal-state task force per se, but it is certainly state action facilitated by DHS and this situational awareness, information, and data provided to the state and local authorities to deal with, on a local level, with social media outside the black agitator involved in any Black Lives Matter movement. However, I don't believe the federal government told the gung-ho cowboys in Waller County everything they knew about her. The good old boys may have gotten the go-ahead from DHS, but they certainly didn't know what the U.S. Psycho Department and the CIA, occult bureau handlers, were up to. The country bigots of Waller County really may not have fully understand what happened to Sandy. Their ignorance, their arrogance, their utter blind racism certainly put them in the trick box, riddle, and enigma that they find themselves trapped in. They were used, and they were easily triggered. So, on July 10th, 2015, Sandy Bland was hunted down and attacked by a Texas state trooper that acted as if he'd been injected with a Rambo chip, human microchip designed to increase adrenaline flow in the bloodstream when hunting down and lighting up black people, elderly, men, children, women. You know that's a real thing, the Rambo chip. The family lawyer, Canon Lambert, and Sandy's sister, Sharon Cooper, confirmed the fact that Sandy had been singled out, targeted by John Rambo, state trooper, within 20 seconds of returning to his car after his staged cover. She finally encountered with the speedy Prairie View A&M University sophomore officer Encina sighted Bland's car. Rambo reportedly looked Sandy straight in the eyes after she made a right turn the opposite lane. Rambo immediately made a U-turn, took off after her, that forced her over to the right side of the road to allow our emergency vehicle to pass. He'd been lying in wait for her. She undoubtedly had been under some sort of surveillance prior to the officer, John Rambo Encina, zeroing in on her. When he stopped her, there's absolutely nothing Sandy could do to save herself from being attacked and arrested by the super adrenaline-charged Rambo. Okay, I'm going to play some music, and why don't we take a little break? You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy. Again, live on Revolution Radio, Studio A, TurtleIslandNews.info, and Wolf Spirit Radio, and the Awake Radio Group. And again, we're all listener supported, and if you're in Canada, our dollar is worth about a loonie right now. Oh my God, I realize how much I buy from the States, where, something used to be $10 like a Brazilian now. For us, I don't know, depopulating the oxygen level on the planet, or because Harper wants to force an election. If this a-hole gets back in, I swear to God, I'm just going to, drink coffee and I don't know. Anyway, so this Rambo cop, I'm sure, had been debriefed with the situational data being collected that labeled Sandy Bland as outside black agitator group before the stop. At his level, which is you don't need to know, just do what you're told level of special operations, the takedown of Sandy Bland involved discrediting, neutralizing her for making a name for herself and the Black Lives Matter movement that she was not involved in. This is from Asita and Senia. I even de-escalated once. We were on the pavement, on the sidewalk. I'm not saying I just threw her, so body slammed her to the ground. I mean, I allowed time to de-escalate and so forth. It just kept being. Then he laughed in response to something he was hearing that we couldn't hear. Right, and it sounds like make a name for her. I'm not sure. I am hoping Encina's full and accurate transcription will be produced and released. That will show he had been briefed on Sandy before this notorious traffic stop. So who is this man? This Brian and Sienna? From creamery to state trooper. And I have another YouTube up there if you want to look. Now, 30, Texas A&M graduate who had been with the state Department of Public Safety for a little over a year. His LinkedIn profile has been deleted, and Sienna indicated in his work history that he was formerly a district chief at Brenham Fire Department. He had also worked at Bluebell Creamery as an ingredient processor. There's not much left about being sanitized to show that Encenia had ever been any kind of social media presence. This has been cleaned, like only an AI could. His LinkedIn profile deleted not long after his name was made public. Bottom line here is that Encenia's background has been deliberately wiped squeaky clean and placed under wraps. It is gone. His background has been intentionally concealed from the public. We are left with the official storyline that Encenia's background history begins and ends at Texas A&M. Encenia is a predominantly Hispanic surname. It is a name associated with nobility, knightly, ancient bloodlines in the families of Spain. It is a Spanish word, encina, derived from the region of Castile, meaning oak tree. People, men of the oak, traditionally means Druids. Druidism is believed to have moved into ancient Spain around 450 BC. Castile, Spain, is also associated with the founding of an order of Knight Templars, 1164, and the order of Calatrava. Encenia deliberately led Sandy out of a narrow range of the police control car dash cam to the sidewalk. He handcuffed her hands behind her back. Then his adrenaline took over. He body slammed and drove Sandy into the pavement, later laughed about it. He fabricated a battery against an officer charge against her, then delivered her to Waller County. I believe that the most logical conclusion here, under these circumstances, is that Brian Encenia is some sort of old world bloodline Spaniard, some Templar knight. Then let's get into Sandy's mother from hell. When Sandy was first arrested, a local bail's bondman said, "I talked to her when she first went to jail." Joe Brooker of Hempstead told the Daily Beast. "I called her mother for her." Then Booker suddenly hung up the phone, and refused to answer any further calls regarding the Sandra Bland case. Sandy's mother, Vienna Reed Veal, interesting name, I'll go into it later, is interesting and strange, to say the least. Say so. Supposed to be grieving, Son of the Beast, no weeping, mourning, or tears. Mother Geneva, with the Goat Rider and the 33, Master Mason, and Divine Nine, and the Boule Al Sharpton. Yes. I've got a lovely picture of the Luciferian Brother Masons, Al Sharpton and Albert Pike, both named Al for a reason. Now, of course, neither Al or Geneva discussed what Hampstead, Texas bail bondsman Joe Booker said, and why she and her clandestine sisterhood didn't bail Sandy out of jail immediately on Monday, the evening Sandy was attacked, battered, assaulted, and jailed. It wasn't for lack of money. These people are well-moneyed. Geneva Reed turns out to be a prominent Chicago area real estate black entrepreneur. She studied at Northern Illinois University, graduated from Columbia College of Chicago with a BA in journalism, currently the manager, broker of an owner of Adoni, interestingly enough, Realty Investment Group. In Kabbalistic mysteries here, the ascent up the tree of life begins with the lowest Serapha, Malkut. The name of God associated with Malkut is Adoni. Adoni is a plural form of Adon, Lord, which is used in the original speech as a title of respect when addressing a superior. Adon, Adamos. When applied to God, Adoni is a title of honor that denotes God's absolute lordship. Although Adoni literally means my lords, is translated as Lord. Gidatila says that Adoni is the name of God that is closest to all created things. Adoni is the great provider of creation, who governs all creatures, gives life and death, bequests and riches, brings low and exalts, makes sick and heals. He is also said that he is the wise, drawn from the wisdom of the Adoni. Could be black Kabbalah beads, which she has around her wrists. I have pictures of this. In Kabbalist mysteries, black is associated with prosperity and wealth. It is also the triple darkness, the abyss, the mother waters. She is a sister. I look at her and recognize this woman in ways that would be very uncomfortable for me to say. Know that everything I've told you about myself and these things, I know. But it is a very powerful color. It symbolizes strength and power. So, is Geneva a witch, Kabbalist, or something far earlier? Now, one problem that Sandy said that she had with her mother is that she always wanted pretty babies, mixed race, white, black children. It sounds as though Sandy had been rejected by her mother because she wasn't white enough. That opens up a possibility. At the same time in her life, she may have been sacrificed to the science by her mother. Now, if we look at most of the ancient traditions that have been brought here, Canada, United States, these continents here of the Great Turtle, we'd have to go back to Louisiana again, that had these rituals of the quatrain girls. Yeah, I said that name wrong. Quadroon balls. It wasn't just about being mixed or physically light-skinned, although that was part of it. It was about the mixing of bloodlines. To be a high priestess in certain mysteries, you must be a mixed woman. So what Sandy had a problem with was far deeper than what I can find out there. This is ancient. This is the rainbow children. These are the rainbow warriors, which may have been brought here, this idea. But it means something that can be very beautiful and, let's hug and dance with unicorns. But it's a mixture of certain bloodlines that in order to have power of the physical body and the spiritual body and the etherical body, you must be of mixed blood. Blood is iron, blood is copper, blood is complicated. We'll get into that. But in the final eulogy to her daughter, Reed prepared herself for what's to come, saying, "Once I put this baby in the ground, I'm ready." This means war. That war she speaks of is likely to take place on the planet Mars rather than Earth. I am inclined to believe nothing that this witch says is just a physical manifestation of something. In CIA MKULTRA mind-controlled Manchurian candidates, you always begin by looking for the unexplained missing time blocks that allow entities time to separate, isolate, ritually perform, and intensely indoctrinate their victims. 2009, Sandy graduated from Prairie View A&M University with a BS, interestingly enough, in agriculture and human science. From October 2009 to March 2010, 6 months, she worked at Prairie View A&M University as a graduate research assistant. After 2010, she was convicted of a marijuana possession in Houston, Texas. In May 2010, she was sentenced to 30 days in jail, then dropped off the map. Know that even in the States, if your people come for money, is that too old an expression? Do you guys know what I mean? If your people come for money, you're not going to jail for marijuana. No matter what you've heard, no matter how many times you've been in jail with it, if your people are moneyed, you don't go. So this was something else. Brand shows up again in Illinois, January 2013, as an assistant property manager, then works regularly at various jobs in Illinois until April 2015, when she quit her administrative assistant job for Cook's Direct in Warrenville. Sandy's abnormal and erratic driving history for a sorority girl picks back up March 2013 with a speeding violation in Crestwood Township, Cook, Illinois. But where was Sandy from June or July 2010 to January 2013? On her LinkedIn professional internet page, the missing time gap between May 2010 and January 2013 is glaring and telling. At that time, she picks up back in January 2013. At some time after January, and immediately thereafter, she has manifested some systematic postpartum psychosis, some post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, epilepsy that nobody seemed to have known anything about. But it just didn't stop there. It gets worse. April 5th, 2015, Sandra Bland was involved in a strange automobile in motorcycle collision that deeply affected her. The motorcycle can be seen in her Sandy Speaks, resting upside down, inverted, on the top of a trunk of her car. She certainly internalized the experience as a life-threatening incident that God delivered her from. It was one more mysterious, traumatic shock to her system and conscience. Sandy said that she had been on the way to the beach, most likely along Lake Michigan, but appeared to be alone. For a beach trip, she had worn an unusually large black double pyramid, triangle, earrings, and a black and white zebra pattern dress, or at least a blouse, because you can see her picture. Sandy's double black inverted pyramid earrings could well be innocent expressions of artistic preferences. However, under these circumstances of traumatic shock, when she expressed an innate, she seemed to be an initiate to me of the sisterhood, the Sussoirs. I'll get into that. Involved in perhaps now racially polarizing an incident of global proportions. But no, that's not what this group is about. It has nothing to do with racial polarization. They are sisters of the brotherhood. It has nothing to do with white or black. Those things vanish outside the mundane, which they call us, by the way. So a second look at Sandra Bland in a totally different realm here is necessary. The pyramid, the triangle, ancient, mysterious symbol that has stirred the imagination of man for generations, trying to unlock its many secrets. Sandy's Skull and Bone Sisterhood, Sigma Gamma Rho, is basically an offspring of the ancient Freemasonry, or perhaps the first version of that, which was taken, like everything from Africa, was taken long before the slave ships came. Anyway, in the Masonic realm, the inverted pyramid suggests an order. From the bottom, few up. Different. Now again, these things are not usually spoken of, but they must be looked at. Could also be related to the mound of Venus and of course, the human body stuff, which is always demonized. But it also represents an initiation. When you wear that upside down, period upside down, means it is the initiation of an initiate, a memti, to a higher new degree of revealed wisdom, knowledge, secrets in the inverted pyramid, in the real structure, in the order up, means that you have been chosen, you have been tapped. The inverted pyramid, the order up concept, also plays an important part in the early Catholic Christian doctrine, all the theologies of the three big ones. The inverted pyramid also represents the lunar aspects, powers of the ancient Great Mother, cults, all of them. Also symbolizes respectively the descent of life, of spirit, into matter. This could be looked at as Satanism, but no, if we walk down from anything, becoming physical was the descent. Whereas a black and white zebra crossing stripes, classic, CIA, MKULTRA, monarch theme, it represents duality. Not the joining of the black and white, but the duality and the separation of such. It acts as an MKULTRA monarch child reinforcing, an identifier device. The zebra crossings and stripes take you round and round. Where it stops, no one knows. And you can see this in, Rihanna, satanic sex kittens, pictures of all of these things that we have gone over. Miley Cyrus, her dad was, probably still is, her handler. The late sex kitten hip-hop star Aaliyah. The multiple personality disordered Nicki Minaj, over and over again, and sadly, the president's daughter. Identifiers here provide special and important safeguard in secret societies. In Oakland, a concerned brother tried to infiltrate a black secret society attached to a Lutheran church in West Oakland. This group was involved in the assassination and cover-up of prominent Oakland black businessmen. An affair that many tried to infiltrate was the minister's public funeral. A black high-ranking Lutheran church official here. During a homecoming celebration after the funeral, people tried to mix in with the brothers to gather some inside information. They were soon discovered, and all society brothers identify themselves by wearing cowboy hats. They were immediately identified because they did not do so, and they were outed as outsiders. They didn't have the cowboy boots. I recognized some of the brothers, and of course, knew exactly. They would know. So again, when we hear the story of AJ going into that secret ritual place, not possible. There are little things like what button to have undone, what color to have in your lapel, what color socks to wear, what shoes you have on. No way you get into one of these things by accident. Never happens. You would be immediately recognized and tossed out unless you had been given permission to do so. Yeah, I'm talking about Bohemian Grove. Not possible. These are people who will kill you without conscience, without any weeping, without any mourning or tears, in their Father's name. The dark side of Saturn. Now, from all the looks, with all the Luciferian identifiers, again I use Lucifer broadly here, but because she's sex kidney, or at least was, this Sandy, we look at the dark side of Venus. So this is lust, and this is vengeance, and this is things that tie with Saturn, so it's rituals. Sandra Bland was on her way to the beach to meet with a secret CIA occult bureau grove or coven for sunset, most likely the moonrise rituals, which are good and bad, depends on what you do and your intent, as with all things. But some of the beaches along Lake Michigan have been known to be used as satanic rituals, particularly for animal sacrifices, voodoo rituals, and as we told you earlier this year, or late last year, also used for the signaling of mind control Wi-Fi that made children on both sides of the river walk out of the house in the winter naked. Now, April 5th had been the night of the waning moon. This is the moon of the great Earth Mothers, Sybil, Demeter, Ceres, Cesis, Corte, Danu, Anu, and Bast. What work has been done is now gathered in. and the crop offered a sacrifice to the mother, who gave it to us in the first place. Time to harvest and begin with renewal. A time to renew endeavors and correct mistakes. Settle disputes. A time to make amends. And no one seems to know what happened to Sandra Bland after the motorcycle accident. And I am sure from the looks of it, it's another trauma that caused her return to her handlers, and another alter was split from her original personality. I have a nice picture of Sandra Bland and a leopard alter. Looking very fancy. Not looking like a poor girl. She's for money. And the leopard, seemingly, and interestingly enough with the lion symbolism, is a favorite of the MKULTRA kitten monarch programmers. Leopard print clothing, dressing as a cat, refers to sex kittens, cat alters. This is the most sexual of programming. This is why it has to do with the pentagram and the pentagon and Venus and perhaps our mother Jade, who is now in control. Sandy looks like a different young lady in cat alters. Sex kitten leopard programming eliminates all moral convictions, stimulates primitive, they would say instinctual, but all of our inhibitions, triggers. And we have seen over and over again many different sex kitten leopard stereotypes, all the way back to Eartha Kitt, who was the sister of the order. I love her, but she was a sister, and I mean the sister. Oh yes. Holly Weird star, vocalist Eartha Kitt, may be the original international cat sex kitten spy. Her mind control programming may be linked to the post-war Nuremberg tribunal, Nazi doctors, and Joseph Mengele, which we've talked about, and I'll cover that in another post related to America's favorite Illuminati Negro, Bill Cosby, who can't stay out of the news anymore. No, I'm not a big fan. So, don't get it twisted. I am not blaming the young sister at all, Sandra Bland, for anything unveiled under normal circumstances. Sigma Gamma Rho is simply a fraternal order of the Black Sisterhood, joined together to look after one another. It started AIM, to enhance the quality of life within the community. Public service, leadership, development, education of youth are all hallmarks of this organization. But veiled is calling to form came from German's pagan order, the Brotherhood of Death, Yale's secret society, Skull and Bones, Sigma Gamma Rho, is secret and veiled women's society of the Brotherhood of Death. That's not what I say. It's what they are. This goes back to the old African ways. This goes back to a story that was translated into the Arabian Nights. And Scheherazade, who had to sing for her life and kept alive 1,001 nights with 1,001 tales, and did the dance of the revealing of the veils. To stay alive, enchant this insane king. King or prince, it depends on which story you look at, but anyway. We'll go into that full story because it's friggin' deep. But she brings him out of his insanity and falls in love. Or she transforms him into something else and becomes this queen. He no longer wants to kill her, but actually he goes on killing rampage and gets many countries. This is the power of the veil. So again, this one kind of goes bad. I understand. But it is an inverted pyramid structured society here, developed by the Knight of the Golden Circle, KKK founder, Master Mason Albert Pike, where this true secret agenda of the organization is held by only a few chosen at the apex of the pyramid, who was the one who designed what would later become Jade 2. All of this, all of these, same guys, same people, same idea. So once you step across the line, like the SS, Knights of the Black Sun, the Ladies of the Brotherhood of Death, and take the Illuminati ritual, the blood covenant of the oath of allegiance, and the secrecy to the brotherhood, you fall down the rabbit hole. And you either meet the Jade Rabbit on the moon and get eternal life, or something completely different. And I'm certain that the young sister Sandra Bland didn't know what she was getting into by joining this Sigma Gamma Rho. Sandy's satanic ritual trauma abuse may have begun in childhood, with the sisterhood providing cover for CIA MKULTRA sleeper covert operations. CIA is basically the Knights of the Secret Brotherhood. Sandy Bland certainly didn't understand what was going to be going on, like a Lee Harvey Oswald, like a Sirhan Sirhan, when she was targeted, beaten, arrested, and jailed, subsequently liquidated to plunge America deeper into the sinkhole of racial divide just before 2016 U.S. elections and the 2016 Canadian elections. In this case, it all took one person with $500 that probably have changed the game planned for Sandy. Nobody saved her. Not her own mom. During the black liberation struggle of the 60s, they used to laugh and drop people off straight out of the sane asylum with black berets and leather jackets amongst the people who were fighting without hurting people. But they did this. Some still had hospital gowns underneath their leather coats. What was done then? They were surrounded. People were taken care of. We just have to do a better job at educating, protecting our people, not just the youth. If she had been my friend, I know I would have come forward to bail her out. But everyone failed her by not lifting the veil on these other people soon enough, and not addressing her special needs if she had them, and many more resulting from this CIA MKULTRA monarch training, which we are now all a part of. Folks, the handwriting is on the wall here. The Illuminati and the Brotherhood's plans for the final chapter, just like the final solution, is in the works. They are systematically closing down your schools, your classrooms, your colleges. Your churches are being infiltrated, corrupted, taken over by agents of this brotherhood. Most of our young men are under the yoke of the police state, the prison industrial system. Most of our employment opportunities are being closed down, parceled out to others, shipped out of town, over to the other side of the world. Your classical, traditional, global industries of power, influence, and wealth like the black music industry, like jazz, like blues, like R&B, slowly withering to nothing. Our premier athletes are unorganized, being swayed away from the people. They are under constant police surveillance, attack, lockdowns. They are under a state of siege. For me, the answer is simple. Resist. Don't let them close this final chapter, not on Sandra Bland, and not on any of her brothers and sisters, no matter what shade of skin. Do not buy into the hype here. If you buy into it, saying your soul is lost, I don't think at this point, is putting too fine an edge. There are three important things. By constant exercise of the facilities of observation and reasoning, by meditation, the novice will climb the steps leading to knowledge. A simple imitation of natural processes, skill combined with ingenuity. The insight born of long experience will secure for him the power. Having obtained that, will still have the need of patience, consistency, and an unshakable will, brave and resolute. He will be entitled by the certainty and the confidence born of strong faith to dare. And we will not be silenced. We cannot be silent. Even when our brothers and sisters are right now very polarized. And I realize we're seeing this. And we're being triggered. Repeatedly. But today is August 4th. So 8:04. Europe today, it is 4:08. There's an old slide about the 4:08. Barack Obama in Gematria, August 4th. Barack Obama's birthday. 4:08 is the height of this fire on the World Trade Center. 4:08 is a computer code that means out of time. One world order in Jewish Gematria is 1368. Malaysia flight MH 307. All of these things are 408. They originally told you they were going to rebuild on Ground Zero, calling the building Freedom Tower, remember? But that did not happen. Instead, they built the One World Trade Center. They will tell you that the building at Ground Zero is 1,776 feet tall. Symbolically, to celebrate the year of American freedom. But the One World Trade Center is really 1,368 feet tall, with 408-foot antenna on the top. That makes it reach to 1776. 1776, Jesus of Nazareth, Gematria. 1368, One World Order. 408, out of time, in computer HTTP status code. Barack Obama, 408, these missing flights. That's today. So I want you all not to be afraid, but to be awake. And Bobby Christina, I must say, rest in peace. Her death was most as mysterious from the beginning. She always thought she would die just like her famous mother. And she did, by drowning and an overdose. The mystery deepens when the realization comes that Bobby Christina's death by drowning was on January 31st, the eve of Imbolc, an ancient pagan holiday of fire and lamb's milk. Imbolc means in the belly. Whose belly? Well, after her drowning, Bobby Christina was in the belly of the underworld, where she remained in a coma for 6 months. Pluto ritual. And after 6 months in the underworld, she finally rose from her earthly tomb to the higher realms. Her release from her fleshly tomb, pagan holiday of Lammas, known as the Feast of the First Fruits. Her body of flesh, like the rest, August 3rd, yesterday. Note that the god of the underworld is Pluto. Pluto's love interest was Persephone, who he would keep captive in the underworld for 6 months, each year before releasing her to her mother. NASA just flew by planet Pluto. Her death was in Imbolc, January 31st, then spent 6 months in the underworld with coma, like Persephone, Pluto's bride. Her burial, Lammas Day, August 3rd. Bobby Christina was buried in New Jersey with the energies of the Egyptian royalty. Bobby Christina's funeral was like seeing an Egyptian temple. There was Egyptian sarcophagi guarding the entrances, as well as many other Egyptian artifacts and statues present during the ceremony. Her mortician is a student of Egyptian embalming. Her mortician is a member of the Freemason Eastern Star. Mortician's father and founder of the funeral home, Master Mason, Masonic Lodge number 33. Lay to rest like an Egyptian princess, just like her mother, whose death was celebrated at the same funeral. See these things. Have no fear. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I will return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Come see me Thursday. Love you guys.